Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating stack of sources, all centered on a pretty powerful question. What happens when the people who know a system best, especially a failed one, get the power to actually rebuild it? Our focus is on justice reform, and specifically through the work of Leonora Lightwalker. She's the founder and CEO of Freed Texas, and she's not just, running another program, she's creating something nationally recognized for prisoner reentry. She just received the 2025 D2 Strong Community Pathfinder for Progress Award for this. Very well deserved. So our mission today is to really unpack the specific, maybe even radical innovations in her approach. We want to show you exactly how she's moving away from those traditional reentry paths, which frankly often fail, towards a model built on dignity, real support, and this is key wages.
Yeah, it's less like tweaking the system and more like reimagining it completely.
Yeah.
Walker's work, it's pretty solid proof that, lived experience isn't just valuable. It might be the highest form of expertise in justice reform. Her whole philosophy is grounded in restoration. It flips the script. True justice isn't about retribution. It's about helping people successfully reintegrate. And we're not talking small tweaks here. This is a practical blueprint. By the end of this deep dive, you'll really get the power, both economically and psychologically, of a full-time paid reentry program, and frankly, why it's turning heads nationally.
Okay, so let's start with the architect herself, Leonora Walker. Her identity is really fundamental here. Our sources paint a picture of an Afro-Latina mother, grandmother, homeowner, someone who faced incredible personal adversity herself. We're talking incarceration, homelessness, and she transformed that into this engine for collective advancement. She leads from that experience, that hard-won knowledge, and her personal philosophy seems wrapped up in this mantra she uses: I'm not perfect, I'm just freed. That's quite a statement.
It really is. And think about the psychology of that. It directly confronts the shame, the judgment that people leaving incarceration face constantly. I'm not perfect, that accepts being human. But adding, I'm just freed, that claims autonomy. It claims agency back. So her personal history, this philosophy, it really sets the stage for an organization aiming to shift not just policy, but the whole culture, even the language around reentry. And if you connect that back to the big picture, Walker's saying restoration is the real measure of justice. That's why her model has to be peer-led and trauma-informed. It's the opposite of the usual top-down approach. Instead of academics or bureaucrats designing things based on stats, she puts the actual experience of being in the system, the trauma, the hurdles, the stigma, right at the heart of the solution.
Yeah, she perfectly embodies that shift, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Moving from just being system impacted, as the term goes, to becoming a system changer. She's not just reacting to failure. She's proactively building something new, using her own deep insights.
Exactly. It's leadership born from survival, really.
Yeah.
She brings not just policy ideas, but that crucial empathy, that grace needed for genuine change, that shift in perspective. That's where all the innovation in the program comes from.
Okay, that's a perfect bridge then to the organization itself. Freed Texas. The acronym says a lot. Finish recidivism through education, employment, and divinity.
Yeah.
So let's get into the structure, because this is where you really see the model's ingenuity. Her main program, it's not just some afternoon workshop, it's serious, 9 weeks. And the people in it, they aren't called clients or cases, they're scholars. And here's the kicker. They do this full time, and they get paid a wage while they're doing it.
That paid aspect is absolutely critical. You have to ask, why does this break the cycle when so many other programs struggle? Well, think about the economics of getting out of prison. It's brutal. You're immediately hit with court fees, supervision costs, maybe no transport, unstable housing. You're instantly in survival mode. You have to take any job, any money, often before you can focus on education or healing or stable career training.
It's an impossible situation, right? You're almost set up to fail from day one.
Precisely. So by paying the scholars a full-time wage for those 9 weeks, Walker's model stabilizes things immediately. It gives them the breathing room, the mental bandwidth to actually focus on rebuilding. It sends a powerful message. Your time, your commitment to healing and learning, it's valuable. We'll invest in you. And that investment, that's what rebuilds confidence. It makes thriving possible, not just scraping by. It removes that huge financial barrier so education can be the priority.
That economic piece is huge. But let's also look at the components within the academy, because it's not just about the money. You mentioned the pillars: education, employment, and then divinity and counseling.
Right, and let's unpack those other 2 parts because they're key.
Yeah.
The whole thing is trauma-informed and peer-led. Trauma-informed means it acknowledges that, look, crime and incarceration are often tangled up with deep, unresolved trauma. So the program's designed carefully to avoid re-triggering people, to create psychological safety.
And peer-led, what does that look like in practice?
It means the people running it, the staff, the mentors guiding the scholars, they've been through the system too. They're formally system impacted themselves. They speak the same language. They get the specific hurdles, both psychological and practical. They have that authentic, lived experience. And that drastically cuts down on the need for scholars to, put up a front or mask things. It speeds up the healing.
Okay, and then there's the divinity element that sometimes raises eyebrows in, secular reform circles. How does it fit in here?
It does seem integral, yeah. And the sources suggest it's interpreted pretty broadly at Free Texas. It's less about pushing a specific religion, more about facilitating spiritual restoration. Think about finding a renewed sense of purpose, of dignity, maybe some moral grounding after an experience incarceration that's often profoundly isolating and dehumanizing. It's about restoring the whole person, mind, body, spirit, helping them find lasting meaning again.
So this whole package, holistic, paid, peer-led, this is the blueprint you were talking about. This delivers those aha moments for anyone listening. It's literally replacing more prison time with education. It trades that heavy stigma of a criminal record for real community support, and it swaps despair for earned dignity. It tackles poverty and trauma head-on together.
And because it works, Walker's influence is now stretching way beyond just her own program. That expertise she forged through adversity, her lived experience, it's now informing policy at high levels, locally, and even nationally.
Yeah, just look at the role she holds. To show the breadth, she's a nationally designated peer support specialist. And locally in Texas, she's on the Bexar County Reentry Board, the Child Welfare Board, and the Oversight Board for the Public Defender's Office. That's serious systemic influence. Can you break down what some of those roles mean? Like, what is a nationally designated peer support specialist, and why is being on the Child Welfare Board so important here?
Sure. A nationally designated peer support specialist is someone who's certified to use their own lived experience to mentor and support others dealing with behavioral health issues or trauma. It's a formal credential. It essentially validates her expertise, allowing her kind of approach to be integrated into official systems, like healthcare and the Child Welfare Board. That shows she's thinking about the whole system. Incarceration devastates families, right? It doesn't just affect one person. So by being on that board, she can directly speak to the intergenerational trauma that happens when parents are caught in the justice cycle. She can make sure the needs of those kids, those families, are actually considered in policy.
That really shows thinking about the whole ecosystem. Okay, and what about the Public Defender's Office Oversight Board? How does her experience play out there practically?
Oh, that's huge. Because she provides a reality check, a counterpoint to maybe more institutional views. When that office talks about allocating resources or diversion strategies or what support services clients need, Walker can speak directly, with authority, about the real barriers people face. No transport, trouble getting ID, bias in pretrial assessments. She ensures policy discussions stay grounded in what's actually happening to people.
And her influence goes beyond Texas, too. She's a fellow with Aspen Global Innovators and Notley Changemakers. These aren't just titles. They give her a national platform to push conversations about healing, economic justice, real systemic change.
Okay, but I have to ask the obvious question. If this paid model works so well, if the results are getting national recognition, what's the holdup? Why isn't every state scrambling to copy this? What's the friction? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The main friction point is, unsurprisingly, funding. And maybe even more fundamentally, shifting the mindset of funders and governments. The traditional view, often rooted in a punitive mindset, is that services for formerly incarcerated people should be minimal cost, maybe volunteer-run. The idea that you'd pay them. Well, it challenges the notion that they somehow don't deserve that investment. Walker turns that on its head. She argues with evidence that paying wages isn't a cost, it's an investment. It's an economic asset because it dramatically cuts the much, much larger long-term costs of recidivism, more court time, more prison beds, more cycles of failure. Her work really challenges Texas, a state known for its huge correctional system and honestly of the whole country, to rethink justice. To see it not just as the end of a sentence, but as the beginning of freedom, a supported, dignified beginning. Her legacy is about lifting others up towards real lasting change and proving that the solution requires investment, not more punishment.
And that fearless leadership, those tangible results from her reentry model, that's exactly what earned her the D2 Strong Community Pathfinder for Progress Award. It's a recognition that real progress often starts when those who've been silenced step up to lead the way in building something better. So let's try to summarize what we've unpacked here. Leonora Walker's work, her whole life really, It's this incredibly compelling case study. It argues that lived experience isn't just helpful in justice reform, it's arguably the most valuable expertise there is. She built a model that works because she intimately gets what the scholars need: stability through wages, healing through peer support, purpose through that spiritual restoration piece.
Yeah, and the key difference, the thing we keep coming back to, is that her model reimagines reentry as empowerment. It treats getting out not as just extended punishment through economic hardship and social barriers, but as a genuine opportunity for dignity, for investment, for real transformation. She understands, fundamentally, that you can't expect someone to heal or get educated if they're consumed with worry about their next meal or finding a safe place to sleep.
So, what does this all mean for you listening to this? If Walker's work shows that the true measure of justice is restoration, is investing in dignity, how might that make us rethink other transitions in society? Think about, say, the transition out of homelessness, or maybe leaving the military, or even coming out of a long economic downturn for a community. Where else are we applying punitive measures or just neglect when maybe we should be investing proactively in dignity and empowerment?